Okay, so you've got me. Delta Force doesn't actually have a platinum trophy, but it does have trophies, and usually for most games, getting all of the trophies will get you a platinum. So for this video, just try to imagine that you get a platinum trophy at the end. Okay, cool? Yeah. Cool. Now, Delta Force, especially with its recent console release, has proven to be quite popular amongst the players, and there is a massively dedicated fan base out there. I typically wouldn't have even played this game, as I'm not going to lie, I just viewed it as another game trying to compete with Call of Duty and Battlefield. That was until I saw that it had an Escape from Tarkov extraction styled game mode, and I love Escape from Tarkov, so I decided to download it and give it a go, and I must admit, I was completely wrong about my initial thoughts of this game. I have non-stop been playing this game. It is a hell of a lot of fun, and because of that, I decided to get all 10 of this game's trophies. Not a hell of a lot of trophies, in fact significantly less than the amount of achievements there is on Steam, but it still took me a decent amount of time to actually obtain them all. And although there are 3 game modes, those being Operations, Warfare and Black Hawk Down, the 10 trophies are only split between Operations and Warfare, with both of those game modes being multiplayer. Not too sure why they never included any trophies for the single player portion of the game. It would have made sense, you could have built out the trophy list a bit more, but I guess they just didn't want to. So to start off this trophy grind, the first set of trophies I decided to tackle was the 5 trophies tied to Operations, for no other reason than the fact that I love Escape from Tarkov styled games. I used to play a hell of a lot of it many years ago and have been waiting ever since for a similar experience to come out on console. Before being able to get into a game and start looting though, the first thing I needed to do was the tutorial, which gives us the basics of how the game mode is played. Although the tutorial does leave you with the false impression that this is going to be an easy experience, which couldn't be further from the truth. You see, there are other real people that also load into these games, and they will 99% of the time try to kill you and take all of your loot that you've just spent the last 20 minutes gathering up. I will talk about the basics of this game mode in just a second, but for now, here's the trophy for completing the Operations tutorial. So with the tutorial for Operations now out of the way, it was time to head into my very first match. I equipped for the most part some pretty basic gear to take into the match, chose the Stinger operator, which is essentially the medic, and squadded up with a bunch of randoms. Something which for this game you don't really want to do that much, you really want friends to play with, but in case you couldn't tell, I don't have any friends to play with, and seeing as it was the first game, I didn't think it would really matter. So the first map you have access to is the map Zero Dam, which is a relatively small map and takes place on, you guessed it, a dam, but so far this is the easiest and arguably my favourite map. Now the basic premise of this game mode is you equip yourself with a bunch of gear, head into a match on one of the maps and make your way around the map, visiting a number of locations, killing NPCs and looting as much gear as possible, all while trying not to die from other players who are looking to take your shiz. Or if you're really unlucky, dying to an NPC, and that's happened to me before. Not a standard NPC, it was a boss, so you know, cut me some slack there, but it can happen. But after you've finished looting and avoided dying, you then get yourself over to one of the numerous extraction points around the map and extract with your hard-earned loot. You can then either store this loot away in your stash or you can sell it on the auction to other players. I personally did a little bit of both. I'd sell a bunch of the more easy to come across items, and the rarer items I'd typically keep for future upgrades, because of course the rarer the item, the more Technic Alloy it's gonna set you back purchasing it from auction. And for some clarity, Technic Alloy is the game mode's main form of currency. So anyway, back to my first game. I mainly just wanted to get a feel for the map, the locations, and start learning some of the container spawns, so then I could just do quick easy runs in the future. Of course, trying to get my hands on a decent payout all while doing this in my first match. This actually went surprisingly well. We went to a number of different locations, looted up plenty of the goods, even took on a few of the optional contracts and didn't run into any actual players, so I'd say that is a mission success. I will admit, even though I hate other players for doing it, I did stray from the group a few times, as of course if I found something worth a lot of dollar, I didn't want to have one of the other players taking it while I was trying to make space in my backpack. Sounds bad, I know, but the randoms can be brutal when it comes to taking loot. In one of my later games I killed 2 players, and then one of the randoms that had spent most of the game just wandering off came along and took 400k's worth of weapons. What an absolute joke. I was fuming. Anyway, while exploring, getting my first feel for the map, I ended up walking quite some distance, which resulted in me getting the trophy Daily Jog for travelling over 3,000 metres in operations. I then went into a few more matches, each time getting a decent amount of loot and extracting, until I eventually realised that not only were there normal contracts, but there were also special contracts known as flagship contracts. And for Zero Dam, this contract had us breaking into a massive vault at the dam. The actual process is pretty simple, but because the location it takes place in is at the admin section of the map, it can be a bit of an issue, mainly because admin is where all the best loot is usually found, and so that means it's a hot spot for literally every other player. Anyway, to complete the contract, we'd first need to use the anti-air missile system near the dam to blow open the big metal doors, giving us entrance to the inside. From here, we then head down to the vault and use a drill to open up the big main door, and once inside the vault, we then get a few minutes to break into each of the safes. Can't lie, unless you're playing on normal difficulty, the loot in here is pretty abysmal, but nevertheless, completing this contract and extracting nabs us the trophy Perfect Employee. So up until this point, I'd pretty much only gone in as a squad, which is good and all, as there's a slightly higher chance of making it out alive, but I wanted to make some serious dough. I needed to make some serious dough, and that was because not only did I want as much money as I could get for upgrades, gear, everything else, but also because there is a trophy for extracting with a total value of over 1 million in loot in a single match, which is easier said than done. At this point, this is all down to the game's RNG and whether I'd be lucky enough to get extremely valuable items pretty much back to back. So from here, I unequipped all of my gear and left myself with nothing but a knife and occasionally a backpack and started doing some money runs. At this point, I still hadn't yet unlocked normal difficulty, so the better chances of good loot was out of the picture, so I just had to hope and pray that the game was gonna do me a solid. That did not happen. The closest I came was around 800k, which for an easy run is phenomenal, but it isn't 1 million phenomenal. Not only that, but I also did die a couple of times while doing these runs, and each time I had a fair amount of value on me, which I can't lie, even though I literally wasn't risking anything going into these matches, still actually made me want to cry. To be fair, it is my fault, as most of the time I'll reach like 500k and think, oh, I can get more than this. Then I'll reach 600k and think, oh, I can get a little bit more, and so on and so on. I'll move to new location each time, and it just goes on from there until I eventually run into like a full squad and get my ass absolutely handed to me, which is annoying because most of the time these full squads are actual players that have squadded up in full communication and have themselves kitted out. We are talking full-on sweat mode on a game of easy difficulty. Like, it's ridiculous, man. Like, just leave me alone. You have the gear, you have the skill clearly. Go on normal, go on a different map. Let me be the loot goblin I want to be in peace. It just stressed me out a hell of a lot. But the good news is that stress eventually paid off. I unlocked normal difficulty, and after quite a few hours of trying to get the 1 million, I decided to finally jump into a few matches on normal. Now you may be thinking, what's the difference between normal and easy? Well, the main difference is that the enemies carry better gear, and overall there is better loot to be found across the map. However, going into a match on normal difficulty does have a minimum gear value requirement. You can't go in there completely naked, you need to have gear on you, and unless you're buying an expensive backpack to do a run with almost nothing on you from the get-go, you'll need to have a loadout totaling about 100,000 Technic alloy. Because of this, a lot of players will run blue gear, although like I said, there are also a lot of sweaty guys out there that will go in taking in purple, gold, red gear. They'll be fully kitted, they'll be going in with a team that actually talk to them and not just randos, and they will absolutely ruin your day. I don't blame them. It is high stakes, high reward. So for a newbie like me, who for the most part just wants to be left alone, I don't want to get into fights with people, I'd just rather go in, loot, get out. I try and avoid all conflict if I can. It does make it a little bit challenging because obviously these players go in with knowledge of this game, knowledge of how it works, of all the spawns. They have a good team behind them, and yeah, like I said, it just makes it a little bit challenging for me. I do win a few gunfights, but I have lost a hell of a lot. But as of writing this, I have been non-stop playing it even after getting all the trophies, and I am getting a lot better. So you guys out there that keep wrecking me, you better watch out. But yeah, in case you couldn't tell, my first few games didn't really go too well, and the amount of times I got into a game where one of my teammates would just go off and do their own thing is unreal, leaving just 2 of us coming up against fully kitted out teams of 3, which is the most annoying thing ever. Why the hell are you searching with squad fill on if you're going to play solo? Like, what is the point? There is an option to go in solo. Don't join a squad if you're not going to help the squad. This was happening a lot, so you know what? I decided to just say screw it, and I decided to go in solo on my own. And no lie, the first normal game I did on solo, I found some really good loot and had a close encounter with a group of enemies, and I almost shit my pants. I'm not sure if I heard players or not. 800k's worth of stuff, I don't want to risk it. Okay, yep, there was players in there. Okay. So I'm just going to wait here. Hopefully they'll run past and we can just go and loot whatever they've left. Hopefully there's a black card and I can go into the manager's office. Okay, it seems safe. Okay, no, I hear footsteps. Where are they, left or right? Okay, they're going behind the truck. How did they not think to check in here? How did they not hear the door opening? Or me walking around inside? Okay, there's one of them there. There was definitely 2. Yep, there's a second player right there. About to say there was definitely 2. Okay, it seems safe. We're going to go and loot now. Hopefully they've left some goodies. Hopefully we can get to a mill. Oh wait, no, there's footsteps. Is that an AI? Sounds like it. No, it's a real player. Okay. There's a real AI there though, Jesus. Where is he? Okay, he's chucked a grenade. Come here, sunshine, you ain't getting away. Have that. Smoke up. Really finish him off. Let's see what he's got. Oh, he's got some good bits. Okay, we're taking that gun. That's worth a lot of money. Okay, hide. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming. Ooh. I'm scared right now. I need to reload. But I know it's going to bring up the menu. Yep, see? Ah. I need to reload, man. I can't move, they're going to hear me. Okay. Seems safe. I don't think they're coming back for him. Smoke up. Let's go and loot what he's got. 885k. We're taking that backpack.
The elevator in zero dam is negative.
What's he got in there? Any goodies? Nothing amazing. Couple of purples. He had nothing good in here. Oh, we are so close to a mill. Okay, what can we get rid of and just swap out? We'll drop one of them, take 2 of these. Yes, we're over a mill. Okay, okay. I should really take that vest, but I don't want to risk getting shot and have no bulletproof vest. Where's the extraction? Right side of the map. Okay. We're just going to move. I'm not going to risk staying here anymore because I know I will die. Wish me luck. I'm shitting it right now. Okay, we made it. No issues. Hopefully that smoke will last long enough for us to extract. Come on, we're so close. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Get in. Filled to the brim. Yes, baby. My first 1 million. Holy hell. I was actually clenching my cheeks towards the end there. That was scary. Especially when I heard the players. I thought that was it. I was done for. Oh my god. Never thought I'd be making a Zero to Hero video just out of fun and actually get the 1 million trophy. That couldn't have worked out any better. Oh my god. I'm actually so happy right now. This brings us on to our last trophy of operations mode, and that is the Brickyard Supervisor trophy for extracting with a mandle brick in operations. Now, mandle bricks are essentially loot boxes that when opened reward you with skins or charms. Most of the time you earn these through completing in-game events, and they can even be purchased on the store. But in addition to those two options, there is also a chance of them spawning in a game of operations. They do also drop in warfare, but we're talking about operations at the minute, and this, you get a trophy for it, so yeah. Now at this point I had around 15 hours or so worth of playtime and not had a single mandle brick spawn. Bearing in mind this is on easy and normal, so yeah, in case you couldn't tell, they're pretty damn rare. Granted, most of that playtime was on easy difficulty, which does state they have a low drop chance, but even the games I had on normal, I just never came across any. So I figured the only surefire way to have the best chance at these spawning was to ditch easy difficulty entirely and focus solely on normal. And to my surprise, after about 2 games, I actually had a mandle brick spawn in my game. I then managed to get my hands on it, and now all I had to do was take it to a decoding station, hold out for 4 minutes, and then extract. Now this sounds pretty easy, right? And it is, but it's not at the same time. You see, because these are quite rare drops, most of the time the other teams in the game will also go for these mandle bricks. And as I said earlier, most of these other teams are fully kitted out and in a squad that communicates, while I wasn't. I was just with some randos. To top that off, one of the randos I was with didn't even bother to help us decode and was just too busy hiding and trying to loot, which to that I once again say, if you're not gonna stick with your damn squad, go in solo. Jesus. Oh, and because the mandle brick is a rare spawn and it's marked on the map, when you pick it up, you are then marked on the map. People can see where you are at all times. So yeah, this extraction was a bust. Me and my other teammate got it to a decoding station and just had players coming in from all directions. We managed to take a couple of them down, but ultimately was no match for the other sweaties and we died, losing the mandle brick and all of our loot in the process, while matey was still busy looting over in admin. Anyway, after this I continued going into games hoping for another spawn, this time taking in better gear, but ultimately it seemed like my luck had run out because not only did I not get any more spawns, but I also died and lost all of my stuff a fair few times. In the end, I decided to just say screw it, I'll leave it for the time being and come back to it later, as I bought a bunch of items needed for upgrading my base and I just needed to get my hands on some more cash, and so with that I loaded back into a few more easy games. Going into my first game back on easy before deciding to give the mandle brick another go though, something happened. A mandle brick had spawned. This is on easy mode. Just remember, I have not seen a mandle brick spawn on easy in over 15 hours of gameplay, so this actually blew me away. I thought that this was superstition, but no, it's true. They actually do spawn. It is just a very, very low chance. Now, I didn't have the best gear, but by the love of Jesus Christ and all that is holy, I had a competent pair of teammates that actually stuck together, and you best believe we smashed it, boy. So with that being our final operations related trophy, now it was time to move on to the warfare game mode, which is essentially Battlefield multiplayer. You think I'm joking? I'm not. The main game modes are pretty much the same as a game of Conquest or Rush, and of course you have the smaller game modes like Domination, King of the Hill and things like that. Now, much like with Operations, Warfare has a total of 5 trophies, but I'm going to be honest, none of them are really that difficult, and it took me around 10 games to unlock all 5 trophies. Now, I'm not going to go into major detail because it is literally just multiplayer. You've surely played or seen gameplay of Call of Duty or Battlefield, so you know exactly how this goes. The first trophy had us rescuing a total of 40 or more players in a single match, and the best operator for this is one of the medics, as they allow you to rescue all players rather than just the players on your squad. For my first game, I ended up getting into a late match, so I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to pull it off. Not only that, but 40 players in a single match is quite a large number, but this was surprisingly easy, mainly down to the map it loaded me into, which I believe is called Shafted. Even though it's big, it's quite a tight map, so you're able to get to players that are downed very, very quickly. And I just spent most of the match purely looking out for players to revive, didn't even care about getting kills, and thankfully I managed to get enough as I ended up unlocking the trophy Battlefield Angel. Now, the next match I went into, I didn't actually unlock any trophy, but the match after I ended up unlocking the trophy Great Wingman for getting a total of 20 or more assists in a single match. The next trophy I went for was the Prowler trophy for getting a total of 50 kills in a single match. Out of all of them, this one is probably one of the more difficult ones because you do actually have to be somewhat decent at the game. Much like with the last one and how it pretty much went through the majority of these trophies, I didn't get another trophy in the following match even though I tried my best, but going into another game put me back onto the map known as Shafted, which obviously was my very first map I played, and in this match I managed to get exactly 50 kills, unlocking the trophy Prowler. My next two matches, I then shifted my focus entirely to destroying manned vehicles. Again, the first match didn't go too well. I only ended up destroying one vehicle as someone else always seemed to land the finishing blow on a vehicle. But again, the following match after that, I managed to destroy two vehicles and unlocked the trophy Armor Buster. And then for my final trophy, I just needed to earn more than 3,000 score by holding objectives. I went into a domination styled game mode, mainly because the maps are smaller, so I figured it'd be quicker getting to each objective and should equal more points. While it was quicker, I somehow never managed to get the 3,000 score needed for the trophy, so the following match I went back into a game of the conquest styled mode and focused on capturing as many objectives as possible. Again, I didn't really focus on kills, it was purely just objectives. Like with my very first trophy, it was purely just reviving, and even though we lost the match, I still managed to get more than 3,000 score purely from objectives and nabbed my final trophy, Stronghold Sentinel. And with that being the final trophy, this brings us to the end of the video. As I said at the very start, I initially wasn't even going to give this game a go as I thought it was just trying to be another COD and Battlefield competitor, but after playing the game's operations mode, which I guess is also trying to be a competitor with Escape from Tarkov, it really changed my mind about the game. It's a hell of a lot of fun, even with the stress that randoms cause me, and for the most part I enjoyed my times playing it and still continue to play it as of writing this. The trophy list for the most part is pretty easy going. There's a couple of difficult and RNG related ones in there, but overall not a hard list of trophies to obtain. I imagine the Steam version is significantly harder, mainly due to there being a ton more achievements to obtain, but it is cross-platform and cross-progression, so who knows, I may even go for all of the Steam achievements one day. If you'd like to see a video on that, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, as I said, this brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, then a like and share would be very much appreciated. Leave your suggestions for future games down in the comments below, and of course tell me what your thoughts are on Delta Force. Have you played the game? Are you enjoying it? I'd love to know. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on to stay up to date with everything I upload. I'm currently working on perhaps one of my hardest platinums so far, and I don't think you guys would want to miss it. Anyway guys, with that, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.